Hello everyone. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, then subscribe to this channel, like and share. The ruler who characterized a time, Sovereign Victoria, conceived Alexandrina Victoria on May 24, 1819, in Kensington Castle, London, was quite possibly of the most powerful ruler in English history. Her rule, from 1837 to 1901, was the longest of any English ruler at that point and denoted a time of critical change in the unified realm. The period known as the Victorian Age was described by wonderful social, political, and modern changes, a considerable lot of which were formed by Victoria's presence and strategies. Early life, Victoria was the lone offspring of Sovereign Edward, Duke of Kent, and Princess Victoria of Saxe-Coburg-Saalfeld. Her dad's demise in 1820 made her the main successor theoretical to the English high position. Yet her initial years were spent under the direction of her mom and a severe tutor, noblewoman Lezen, in a confined childhood away from court life. Victoria's rising to the privileged position came at 18 years old, following the passing of her uncle, Lord William IV, in 1837. Her initial a long time as sovereign were set apart by her sincere obligation to her illustrious obligations and her craving to make her rule critical. Victoria's childhood and freshness prompted starting difficulties in exploring court governmental issues and laying out her job as a sovereign. Everyday life. In 1840, Victoria wedded her most memorable cousin, Sovereign Albert of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, who might become ruler associate. The marriage was profoundly private and strong together. Albert was instrumental in exhorting and helping Victoria in her regal obligations and assumed a critical part in molding the bearing of her rule. Their organization was likewise a model for a cutting-edge, friendly, and conscious marriage, diverging from the more conventional and formal connections of past regal relationships. Victoria and Albert had 9 kids, who wedded into different European imperial families, acquiring the moniker the Grandma of Europe. Their youngsters were persuasive in molding European regal collusions and adding to the interconnectedness of the mainland's illustrious families. Industrialization and change. Victoria's rule corresponded with a time of exceptional industrialization and mechanical headway. The Victorian time saw the development of the English domain, the ascent of the modern transformation, and huge social and financial changes. Victoria's rule was set apart by both the advancement and the difficulties of this extraordinary period. The modern unrest achieved massive changes in England's economy and society. The development of processing plants, rail lines, and the extension of urban communities changed the scene of the country. Victoria and Albert were sharp allies of mechanical advancement and development. Albert, specifically, was a benefactor of the incomparable show of 1851, held at the Precious Stone Castle in London. The presentation displayed English modern and mechanical headways and represented the period's soul of progress and development. Victoria's rule likewise saw critical social changes. The mid-19th century was a period of incredible social disturbance, with issues, for example, kid work, unfortunate working circumstances, and the requirement for instructive changes coming to the very front. The Victorian government, impacted by reformers and social activists, passed different regulations pointed toward working on working circumstances, instruction, and general well-being. Victoria upheld these changes, which were in accordance with her faith in moral and social obligation. Political difficulties. Job of the government. Victoria's relationship with her state heads and the political scene of England developed altogether over her rule. Right off the bat in her rule, Victoria's political impact was more articulated, and she was known to be profoundly engaged with political issues. Her relationship with her most memorable top state leader, ruler Melbourne, was especially close, and he assumed a significant part in directing her through the early long stretches of her rule. As the political scene changed, Victoria's job turned out to be more emblematic and less engaged with everyday administration. The Victorian time saw the ascent of the advanced parliamentary framework, with political power progressively moved in the possession of chosen authorities as opposed to the government. Victoria's later state leaders, including Benjamin Disraeli and William Gladstone, assumed a critical part in molding the strategies and course of the public authority. Victoria had an intricate relationship with Disraeli, with whom she had a striking compatibility. Disraeli's way to deal with legislative issues and his capacity to explore the intricacies of the government and the parliamentary framework were urgent in keeping a steady connection between the Crown and the public authority. Alternately, her relationship with Gladstone was frequently stressed because of their varying perspectives on strategy and administration. Worldwide impact. The Victorian period was a period of gigantic extension and solidification of the English realm. Under Victoria's rule, England arose as a worldwide superpower with a tremendous domain crossing across landmasses. The realm's extension was driven by monetary interests, vital contemplations, and a feeling of mission to spread Western qualities and progress. Victoria was an image of English majestic strength, and her picture was utilized to advance and legitimize the realm's undertakings. The sovereign's job as the ruler of India, a title gave upon her in 1876, featured her representative job in the domain's extension and her association with its tremendous regions. Victoria's rule saw the solidification of English command over India, Africa, and different districts, fundamentally forming worldwide legislative issues and exchange. In any case, the supreme development likewise achieved complex and frequently quarrelsome issues, including expansionism, abuse, and social contentions. The effect of English rule on the colonized districts was significant and frequently impeding, prompting enduring outcomes that keep on being examined and discussed today. Later life and heritage. In the later long periods of her rule, Victoria's own life and public picture turned out to be progressively critical. The passing of ruler Albert in 1861 significantly affected Victoria, prompting a time of profound grieving and withdrawal from public life. Her drawn-out pain and withdrawn conduct prompted a view of her as a grave and disconnected ruler, however she kept on satisfying her regal obligations and keep up with her job as a nonentity. Victoria's later years were set apart by a resurgence of public interest and esteem, as the sovereign embraced a more open job and drew in with the changing social and political scene. Her jewel celebration in 1897 commended her 60 years on the high position and was a demonstration of her getting through importance in English life. Victoria kicked the bucket on January 22, 1901, at Osborne House on the Isle of Wight, denoting the conclusion of the Victorian age. Her passing denoted the start of the Edwardian period, introduced by her child, Edward VII. Victoria's heritage is characterized by her effect on the English government, her part in molding the Victorian time, and her enduring effect on English and worldwide history. Conclusion. Sovereign Victoria's rule was a time of significant change and improvement, portrayed by modern advancement, social change, and majestic extension. Her initiative and individual life assumed a critical part in molding the course of English history and the more extensive worldwide setting. Victoria's heritage as a ruler period keeps on being recollected and read up for its effect on current history, society, and administration. Thank you for watching.